Hosting for the Dice Tower is generously provided by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff, in stock at CoolStuffInc.com. Thanks for your support. The Dice Tower, episode 467.
The GenCon preview show, part 2, or the Dice Tower half.
Or part 2. Whatever you want. Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, it's our annual GenCon preview show with our special guests from the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast. Hear about our most anticipated non-gaming events in Indianapolis this year, as well as our top 10 games to check out at the show. I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the Arthur Fonzarelli of board gaming, Tom Vassell.
Eric, once again, I don't know what you're talking about.
You've never heard of Arthur Fonzarelli?
No one calls him that.
Well, I had to obfuscate a little bit.
But I don't understand how it has to do with GenCon.
It doesn't. I'm just saying you're a leader in the community.
He's not a leader.
You're a cool guy.
You're a cool guy. You hit jukeboxes all the time to make them work.
The bathroom is your office.
You've got catchphrases. You wear leather.
Does it throw you guys off when you see him in a movie, like as an older 45, 50-year-old guy, and you're like, come on, man.
He's still the Fonz, yeah.
No, he's not the Fonz.
I think I like that stuff better.
He's actually not a bad actor. I like him on Arrested Development a lot.
Yes, I love Arrested Development.
As that lawyer. All right. Well, folks, you are hearing extra voices. That is not an accident. We are welcoming to the show part of the Secret Cabal. We have with us today Jamie Keagy. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey now, Tom and Eric.
And the very famous and popular and the heart and soul, not the mouth, just the heart and soul of the Secret Cabal, Tony Topper.
Yo, thanks for having us, Tom.
Ooh, he gave me more words on my show than he did you in Grace, Jamie.
I think you'll probably find that.
Well, I had to be gracious and say thank you.
All right. Well, I'm excited because if you missed it for some reason, and I can't imagine you did, but if you missed it, this is part 2 of our GenCon episode. We talked a lot about GenCon. So if you're saying, why didn't they say this? It's because we said it in the last episode.
That's right.
So we're going to just jump right into this. There's no need to do all this intro stuff. But I do want to talk. First, we're going to start out by what are things we're looking forward to at GenCon that are not about board games? Because we've been spending so much time here talking about, I'm looking forward to this board game. But what else? What else do we like about GenCon? So we're going to go through one at a time. We'll start with Tony and just bop till we're done.
All right, well, I think number one, the first one I have to mention is I'm a transplant migrant. I left Pennsylvania 3 years ago, moved to California. So to me, like, one of the best things about GenCon is really just getting to see my buddies, Jamie and Chris from Pennsylvania, get to hang out and see each other in person. We talk over the internet all the time on the show, but we don't get to see each other very often. So that is probably the thing I'm looking forward to most. That's not, I guess, directly about board games.
It's not on my list, Tony, but it is absolutely the number one reason that I like going to GenCon.
Yes, and lest we all look stupid, that's just an assumption for me.
Yeah.
No, but Tony has the point, though, where he's not around you all the time.
Right, exactly.
So that's an even bigger deal for him.
Yeah. One thing that GenCon has done the last couple of years, and they will continue to do this year, is set up a whole bunch of food trucks right outside the convention hall. And it's a great place to get out and get some different cuisine. I love the names of some of these places. There's a truck called Nacho Mama. The downside can be that they get very crowded during peak meal times. So I'd suggest if you want to visit the food trucks to do so early or late. You have to go with amusement park mentality here and eat when others are not eating. But there's a wide variety of stuff along the street right outside the hall, and it's well worth a visit. The food trucks.
One of the things that GenCon does every year that I've grown very excited for each time I go is they have the GenCon official beer. Sun King Brewery partners with GenCon, and they have their big contest to name the beer, and this year it's the Sun King's 20-sided rye. Last year the beer was fantastic. The year before it was fantastic, and I get excited to get there every year. It's the first thing I order. I go into the hotel, I go up to the hotel bar, say, "Give me the 20-sided rye," and I'm going to check it out. I'm excited to taste it this year.
They run out, too. You have to sort of move quickly to try these beers out because the different bars around town will run out of this particular variety.
That is absolutely true.
This presents a problem for me because I like to drink. And like I was saying
no problem there, Tony.
Like I was saying in the last episode, though, is like you want to be filling your body with good things that like energize you and keep you alert and awake and able to game late into the night. The problem is if I drink too much beer, I want to take a nap.
There's no time for that at GenCon.
Exactly. And this is a rye beer.
Don't listen to my first one. All right, for me, I really look forward to the meals. Now, Origins is definitely a better eating place than GenCon.
Yes.
But at GenCon, we always do some nice, fancy meals. I already have all the reservations done for them because it's one way to make sure you have a place at a restaurant.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And it's just, I look forward to these meal events. I think I have like 4 of them scheduled, and each year they're just a lot of fun for me.
So another thing that I love about Gen Con that is not directly related to board games is, well, I guess it's obviously related to board games, but it's the art, right? And there's an artist like section of the vendor hall. And I say this all the time, it's like a reprieve for me to go into the artist area. It's a little less crowded than the rest of the vendor hall, so there's a little more breathing room. There's a very, I guess, it's an artist vibe, so it's a little more bohemian. There's a little more, like, relaxed, and it's just cool to just go around and see all the artists and see their prints. Some of them will, a lot of them are Magic the Gathering artists, so they'll sign cards. Just a lot of fun to sort of take a break, go appreciate some of the artwork.
I'm with you there. I have never gone to Gen Con, I think, and not bought a piece of art. I do every year. My hallway's starting to get cluttered, but too bad, and I'm going to fit another piece in. I love that. I love that area.
More than any other convention that we go to during the course of the year, Gen Con is a draw for cosplayers. And some of the artistry that goes into constructing these costumes is unbelievable. It's a whole culture that I am not a part of. It always amazes me that somebody spends money on their ticket to Gen Con and spends the entire time dressed like a character from Kingdom Hearts and just posing and stopping for pictures, and that just is their convention. But you get to see some amazing costumes. They can get in the way sometimes. But it's really neat to see what folks have done and the creative groups that they can put together and just some very funny, entertaining costumes from the cosplayers. It's always a highlight.
If we would have had a list that were the things I was least looking forward to at Gen Con, this would be on my list.
Yeah, but you know what? I really like the fact that I think they really did better with this last year because they made a special area for these folks outside the hall. And you could go out there at any point and find like 40 or 50 of them.
They segregated them away.
You knew where there would be.
No, but people would go around and take pictures. It was like all in one place. It was good. It kept the halls not so bad with these people walking through.
Right.
And I really liked that. That was a lot of, I would go, I like, shut up, Tony.
Well, my next thing on the list here is the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund auction game that we always put up on. Every year, Rodney Smith and Jeff Engelstein and I, we go together to do this auction game. Somebody buys it, and we play a game. Whatever game they want, we do it at Gen Con. This is a ton of fun for me. For one reason, it's a great cause. And we raise a bunch of money, and what do? We get to play a game. So it's kind of even a little bit selfish for me because I have to carve out time to play a fairly long-form game at Gen Con every year. And we were talking in the last episode about how we don't get a lot of time to game. So this is actually a chance I get to game here and doing it for a good cause with some really great people. This year we're playing Gallerist, Rodney and Jeff and I, with Jenny Lantham. She was awesome, donated a bunch of money. She's playing Gallerist with us.
That's really cool. Huh?
And I'm excited for it.
Those charity games always seem to just go over like gangbusters.
Yes,
They
they
always
do.
seem to be great affairs and things. All right. Well, Eric mentioned the cosplayers, and I'll mention the costume parade. Happens every Saturday afternoon. I always try to get out there and just watch it. I don't know what it is. I get a kick out of watching 10 Deadpools walking together.
Because they cluster them.
And one of them looks like amazing, and one of them looks like he rolled out of bed and accidentally dressed like Deadpool because he was drunk. It's hilarious. And I always feel like that guy's like, are you kidding me? Because it's like they put the same people together. So one guy's like, do I have to be near this guy? He looks amazing. Last year there was I think it was a Space Marine. Dreadnought, was it? There was a really
A
cool one
Dreadnought,
last
that'd be
year.
the biggest.
Did I say Dreadnought? Not Dreadnought. Terminator.
Terminator, yeah, probably. Yeah, those Space Marine costumes are always really well done if they put the time in. They're amazing, and I would really like to know how they operate because these things are gigantic.
I always lose track of time when it comes to the costume parade, and don't realize that it's about to start. So I'm just walking down the hallway and suddenly realize that everyone is on either side of me and no one's in the middle. And then like those 10 Deadpools start marching toward me and I have to escape.
That's like Tony's nightmare.
Right. I was just about to ask Tony, are you excited for the costume parade?
He knows that's where we'll all be and he can escape it.
All right, on to my number 3 item that I'm interested in. Okay, so we were talking about, what were you talking about? You were talking about Terminators a couple of minutes ago. I like digging through, there's this one, I don't even know the name of the vendor, but he's always at Origins and he's always at GenCon. And he's got these bins of Games Workshop miniatures, and they must date back to like the 1980s or 1990s. Like he's got like all this stuff, and he's got it all labeled by whatever the faction is that you're most interested in. So there'll be like 3 bins for whatever your faction is. So there's vampire bins, and I just love to like go and like root through these bins for like an hour.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, the bins of anything is always like, ooh, something I want might be in the bottom.
That sense of discovery.
Yeah, it's like digging for treasure.
There was one time, and I think the guy does this on purpose, but there was like a limited edition Vampire Count miniature that normally goes for like $35 on eBay. And I found one in one of these bins for like $5. So the guy must be doing it on purpose or something, because that's how he keeps people digging through those bins, is he'll hide these treasures in there or something. I don't know, but I always seem to find something that I'm like, that's hard for me to find, and I get it out of these bins. So I'll probably be doing it again this year.
Well, the location changes every year, but somewhere outside the main gaming hall, there should be an artist putting together a gigantic balloon structure. In years past, it's been a big dragon, and then with a knight trying to slay it, made out of balloons as well. Cthulhu has been a popular theme, just some sort of large, epic-scale balloon sculpture. And then they do a charity auction to slay it when it's all done, and somebody gets to pop the whole thing. It's just neat to see this whole thing in progress, because at first he's just tying big green balloons together and you don't actually get to see it take shape until
refuses
maybe
to tell you also.
Oh yeah, he won't tell you what he's working on. So Friday or Saturday it starts to become the form that you're looking for. And it's just neat to see this all come together. Just impressive artistry with the giant balloon epic sculpture.
This is one of those things that you could take for granted when you're just sort of like strolling down the hall and you see this giant balloon animal and you're like, oh, whatever. But yeah, it really must be a talent that this guy hones. It's like a craft, a skill that he's definitely mastered somehow. Because when you stop it...
And must plan all year.
I know. I can't imagine, like, it's something you could only do if you had, like, lots of experience creating balloon animals. And I don't know, how do you decide one day, like, you know what, I think I'm going to be a balloon animal sculptor?
We should ask Flip Flory.
When does that happen? When does that life choice happen? Anyway.
I don't know. We'll find out, Tony. We'll go up and ask him. We'll interview him.
Yeah.
The next thing that's on my list is we talked about it in the last episode, but I am on a panel with you, Tom, and as well Rodney Smith about the board game media in general. And I'm really excited to do this because I've never been on a panel in which I was considered an expert in something. So that's
actually, it's kind of a gotcha thing.
Oh?
When we get there, me and Rodney would be like, all right, Jamie, we got some problems with you. You're not an expert. It's an intervention.
Oh, is that right? Well, we'll find out. Tony, you got to be there. You got to be my plant like we talked about in the last one. You can stick up for me. But no,
Well,
I'm very excited to do this. I think it sounds like a ton of fun, and I hope we get into some good discussion amongst ourselves with the audience. Like, I'm really excited to find out what it's going to be like and go through this process and maybe help some people. I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm excited about, and Rodney insisted on it, and it's right, is that there's just 3 of us, right? These panels always have like 8 or 9 people.
Right.
And so you hear someone talk for 5 minutes. Here we can talk for more of that time, and so we can get more meaningful stuff said.
Sure. I agree, and I think it's going to be great, and I think we're going to disagree on a lot of things, and I think we're going to, because we have a lot of different perspectives about how we approach doing this stuff, and I think it's going to be fun. I can't wait to do it.
I actually think we're not going to disagree on that much stuff. Because I know that when me and Rodney will talk, we often agree on pretty much everything. I mean, I don't disagree. I'm not there to talk about stylistic choice. I'm there to talk about things I think people have, well, we'll get into it there, but people have misplaced expectations concerning podcasts and videos.
Oh,
by
for sure.
a mile.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And I think that we'll agree on.
Oh, I'm sure we'll agree on that. Most
All right,
definitely.
for me, Giant Robo Rally or Giant Catan or Giant King of Tokyo or just anything. The one thing I love about GenCon is walking around a corner and be like, wow. Or just, they have entertainers. There's people singing. There's people playing instruments. Sometimes it's bad, but sometimes it's good. It's entertaining. And I like, it feels like a fair, wherever I go. And sometimes, like, even if you go upstairs, that's like the secret of GenCon. If you go to the second floor, it's so less crowded.
You can move around a lot more quickly, yeah.
And there's all kinds of stuff up there. Like, I'll walk into a gaggle of cosplayers. Well, Tony went like that. Or there's people painting miniatures up there. There's a huge ballroom of RPGers, although maybe that moved this year. I don't know. But, there's just all kinds of cool stuff everywhere. Looking in nooks and crannies. I don't have a ton of time for it, but I try to do it each year, and it's so much fun for me.
So this is the thing I look forward to most, probably, and that's the Secret Cabal meetup. Every year, like, it gets bigger and bigger, and there's just so many people there, so much fun. I meet so many people. I don't know what else to say. I just have such a great time when we have these meetups. There's people that I get to see once a year, and it's at this meetup, and I always have a good time. The only thing I'm concerned about, really, is the same thing I'm concerned about with the GenCon official beer. At the meetup, I'll probably have too much to drink.
Tony, this is the last thing that was on my list as well. This is the most exciting thing that we do all year long, both at Origins and at GenCon. We have our meetups, and at this point, it's becoming almost like the party to be at. We're there. All of our media friends are there. All of our listeners and listener friends are there. We got designers and publishers and industry people just showing up at this party, and it has nothing to do with gaming at all, other than what we're talking about. Of course, we're talking about gaming and stuff like that, but it's just a social event, and I love this. I get to spend time with these people, not really doing any business, just hanging out and getting to know them as people, and our listeners as well, and our friends that we don't see more than once a year or twice a year or 3 times maybe. And that's what I'm so excited about. I'm just glad that I could sort of facilitate this party for all these different people, and they all come and have a good time. That's what I love about it.
All right, and for me, just I already mentioned this in the last show. I'm looking forward to just checking out the stadium to see what that looks like. I might just run over there once to see what it's is there. The new walkway to it, that's interesting. So that's that. So let's go into.
What about my 4th thing?
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
skipped right over it.
I just kind of glommed onto Tony's number 4 there.
Oh, Jamie confused me.
I'm feeling neglected, and I want to talk about skyscrapers made out of cardstock.
You mention this every year.
I know. Card Hala is what people apparently do with Magic cards that are, commons and other CCGs that they don't want these cards anymore. They take donations throughout the course of the convention and gradually build structures. No glue or anything. It's houses of cards.
I always thought about this? It's like the Latchkey Kid place in GenCon. It's where you dump your kid off when you don't want to watch him the whole time. You're just like,
First of all,
you're just like, go put some cards here and build this castle. I'm going to go look in the vendor hall for 3 hours. You leave your kid there, and he builds up the Karhala.
back off there, Tony, because I left Melody there one time to work on that. Not for a very long time, and she liked it. So back off.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just telling it how it is.
I'd be worried dropping off a kid over there just because I'd be afraid to knock over somebody's structure. I mean, the amount of work that goes into some of this stuff is incredible. There are people working there all weekend.
Right, yeah. It's obviously an age-appropriate child that you would leave there.
Right.
What, like 4 or 5 years old, Tony?
I don't know. I don't have kids.
And then they knock it down. It's another charity auction. They throw coins at it.
Oh, that's that. Okay, now we're done. All right. Hooray! Okay, so what are we doing at the show? So we, of course, would love to say hello to you. Our booth is, Tony got me all confused now. Our booth is 2821. Is that right?
I don't
Yes.
even know.
Okay. We're right by Pokemon. So if you walk around the Pokemon booth, you will see us. We're on a corner. We have a 10 by 20 this year. We have a lot of different podcasts will be there. If you want to see us, me, Sam, Z, Eric, we will almost always be there the first hour from 10 to 11 and the last hour from 5 to 6 each day. That's your best bet to find us, although we will be there often throughout the day, or various people who do segments on Board Game Breakfast and Blender and just different people. If you want to see Jason, I think he'll always be there.
Yeah, he's got nothing else to do, I'm sure.
So there is that. Then and different podcasts from the network will be there at different times. Jamie, what time will your guys be there?
Saturday at 1 o'clock for an hour.
Then the Dice Tower is putting on a live show, and Mr. Bonacors from Stronghold Games is sponsoring this and managed to finagle us the Mega Room with 1,200 people. Now, last year the room filled up, but this year so far only 900 tickets have sold.
Yeah, that's all.
Are you nervous yet, Eric?
Getting there. We keep talking about it, so yes.
Well, this show is going to be a live show, and you know what? I'm not telling you what's going to happen at this show, but I would recommend coming, unless you don't like the Dice Tower, in which case I'm not sure why you're listening to this, unless you like the Secret Cabal and don't
we're
like
on the
the Dice
Secret Cabal
Tower.
feed.
But
Yeah.
they're going to be at the show, so you got to come. A generic ticket will get you in, I think. It's pretty simple to come to. It's in the main ballroom. You don't have to go very far either. I like that also.
Yes, we're not in a hotel off to the side somewhere this time.
Oh, that's
We
good.
We have a nice sound system there. I'm just excited to do a show for 1,000 people. That's like just cool.
It's exciting.
That's like bigger than our first audience for the podcast across
Yes.
the world
Yeah, right.
in one place. Like, I don't remember when we breached 1,000 listeners, but it was a while.
Yeah.
So please come to that contest. Don't forget that. Never mind about that. Okay, so game time. Yeah. Okay, actually, I was going to do my stupid games, but I'm not. I'm just going to do my normal game I do every year about Fantasy Flight. What do you think they'll announce at the show? Okay, come on. I gave you guys. This is the same question I ask every year.
I think that Fantasy Flight is being relegated by Asmodee.
What do you mean by that?
I think that they're being sort of, I don't know what the right word is at the moment, but they're being basically honed or they're the Star Wars Game of Thrones company with a splash of Lord of the Rings.
That may be true, but just to clarify something, when you see Asmodee North America, you could just cross it out and write Fantasy Flight, and it's Fantasy Flight right now is running Asmodee North America. Right. Asmodee ain't making Fantasy Flight do anything. Fantasy Flight's making Asmodee do stuff in America.
That's true. That's true, but I'm talking more about the brand that they're. I think you'll see less of those like other games that you've seen from Fantasy Flight in the past. And when I say other games, maybe like what was one? There's like Black Gold, Arcana, Age of War, Battlestar Galactica, maybe even Cave Troll.
No, I think you'll still see stuff like Battlestar Galactica. But you're right. A lot of those Euro games they're doing that through Wind Rider games and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's where my prediction comes in, is with Wind Rider.
All right, what are you predicting?
Is that they're gonna bring out Reifenbreite and be they're gonna call it Wind Rider because you're drafting.
That would be cool.
They're gonna be literal with their imprint.
That'd be cool, but you just made that up.
That's just what I'm thinking.
My
Come on.
prediction is going to be that they're going to announce an expansion for Forbidden Stars. And this is me just praying that they'll announce an expansion for Forbidden Stars.
You're hoping, right? Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so I keep thinking they're sitting on this Star Wars license, and I don't know the numbers, but I suspect like if they lost the Star Wars license, like half of Fantasy Flight gets fired.
Right.
Because that's really their main thing. They've done aerial combat with X-Wing. They've done big combat with Armada. They've done ground combat with Imperial Assault, and now they've done everything with Rebellion. There's not much left unless they like pick Mace Windu versus Emperor Palpatine duel. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know what else, or like if they pick like Assault on Hoth, the board game. So that's going to be my guess. They're going to pick a scenario, and it's going to be a cool game. Like if they made an Assault on Hoth game that came with little miniatures of AT-ATs and snowspeeders, you can't lie and say that doesn't make you a little excited.
Oh, for sure. I'd be running out and grabbing that up as fast as I possibly could. I think that sounds great.
So I'm going to say they're going to announce that. Sam keeps insisting they're going to do TI3 with Star Wars, but I don't know.
I think that we've passed that with the Rebellion thing at this point. I don't think they would do
Rebellion
two of those.
It's very different.
Well, I know it's very different, but do you really think that they would put out two big box games of space combat, even though Rebellion's different than TI3? I don't think they would do that.
Well, they did put out Rebellion right after they put out the 40K one.
That's true. Who knows?
You know what I want to see?
I want to see Battle Lore with Star Wars. That's what I want to see.
That sounds like Battle of Hoth right there.
Doesn't it?
You could do that.
Okay. I'm gonna update what I said there. Okay, so Battle for Hoth.
Battle Lore of Hoth.
I think that's a little too cutesy, huh?
But instead of lore, you have the Force.
Battle Force.
And you use the Force for stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
I'm in.
That's it. That's the one.
I'm calling
Battle
that.
Force Hoth.
Also, in the worst kept secret on the internet, we know they're going to be announcing an Arkham Horror card game or releasing it.
Right.
Who cares about that?
Because, Tony, you know that Arkham Horror is still like one of their top sellers over 10 years after it's come out.
Garbage. I want a Game of Thrones, the board game expansion. I want some dragons or something. Yeah, I want some dragons in Game of Thrones, the board game. They need advance the storyline a little while and sort of recreate the map a little bit. Maybe throw in the White Walkers instead of the Wildlings.
Are you talking to doing something, Tony, like they did with Battlestar Galactica, where the base game was Season 1, and every expansion was Season 2, and then Season 3, and then Season 4? I think that might be kind of neat.
Not quite like that.
I think they're going to make a little deductive hidden identity game. Who's Arya Stark? You know, and
Right.
you have to figure out who it is before they stab you.
Yeah. Who wants that crap?
I'd play that.
Get that away from me. No, you wouldn't, Tony. Don't lie.
I want Game of Thrones. I want more Game of Thrones. I don't want just more expansions to their living card game. I want a game.
I'm talking about the main game, the real board game, Game
That's
of
what I'm
Thrones Second
saying.
Edition. Well, I'm saying put out an
It's fine.
expansion. That's book 2,
doesn't
book
need
3.
more. It doesn't need more.
We need dragons and Targaryens.
Dragons.
I agree with Tony. Want more. I want more Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And I want that Battle Force. And I want that expansion for the Forbidden Stars. Come on, Fantasy
Very
Flight, get
needy.
on the ball.
I'm going to say Fantasy Flight's going to announce a new IP that they have. I don't know what it is, though. And I also going to say that they're going to make some sort of Mad Max game. Come on now. Someone's got to make a Mad Max game.
Do they have a
Mad
history
Max
of that
would-
kind of thing, though?
What,
Movie
post-apocalyptic
licenses?
stuff? New licenses? They got licenses for everything, Tony.
Star Wars, Game of Thrones. I don't know. Does Mad Max fit in there?
I want them. Tony, I can't believe you didn't say the IP that they need is Blade Runner.
They do need Blade Runner. I was talking about that the other day with the sequel to the movie coming out. We need a Blade Runner board game.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. Cryptozoic is going to get that license, and we're going to get a game we don't want.
Don't jinx it, Jamie.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. All right. Let's get to the top 10.
It's a Dice Tower Top 10!
The Dice Tower's Top 10 list is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.
All right, this is the most exciting part for me about this because there's games that we like at Gen Con that we're looking forward to. Then there's the games that we're like really excited about. And that's this list. All right. And we have some crossover here. And if Eric wasn't here, we'd have a lot more. Eric picks really odd things.
I try.
But no, you didn't. Actually, though, there's just some games that, what's the term? Frothing at the mouth? Jumping out of our pants? What else is there?
We're going wild.
Ants in our pants.
All right.
The wild meter is pinned at the red. The cops are on the way.
Right. All right. Now, normally, I have us like not talk about our games until it comes up higher on someone else's list.
Right.
However, if I did that, Tony would not talk.
I think about half of the games on my list are higher on someone else's list.
Actually, yes, half of them are. So we're going to each talk about it. So we may be coy and then like really, hey, it's much higher on my list for whatever reason. But are we ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
We're going to start with Tony and go on. Here we go. Start us off.
Number 10.
I'm crying that this one is higher on someone else's list, so I'm just going to hold off.
Yeah, you can actually talk about it.
Oh, I'm allowed to talk about it? All right.
You didn't hear what we just talked about, Tony?
Well, I didn't know if that was across the board or just, case by case.
Get the bananagrams out of your ears.
So my number 10 is Cry Havoc. And I saw this on the Board Game Geek hotness list, and I started checking out a little bit, and it kind of gave me a little bit of like sci-fi meets Blood Rage. And that enough really just secured its position on my list. But then I started looking into it a little bit, and the thing that kept it low on my list, I think, is it just seemed very complex, and I couldn't tell if it was good complexity or bad complexity.
So that was your number 10, Cry Havoc.
That is right. Eric, what was your number 10?
My number 10, as Tom said, I like to pick out some that just thematically stand out to me. And Flag Dash is a card game about adult friends who were childhood friends, and they always said that they'd get back together at some point when they were grown up and play their favorite game, which is Capture the Flag. And so you're playing cards to try and capture the other player's flags. You have defenders that you share with teammates that can protect your own zones, and so you get to move two of these figures each turn. The gameplay could be terrible, but the theme sounds like a whole lot of fun. You're trying to play Capture the Flag. I want to see it work.
Well, actually...
Wouldn't you rather just play Capture the Flag?
Oh, my goodness. Why don't you just go kill Vikings instead of playing Blood Rage? Come on
Because
now.
I can't do that in real life. I could play Capture the Flag in real life.
Really? You could get a group together and go play Capture the Flag.
I think
now.
so. I probably could.
I'm sure Tony actually does that. I really do believe that he does that.
This game is actually pretty good. I was surprised. The components are okay, but it's essentially you play cards each turn that let you move certain ways, but once you play... You could play the same card, but you have these tokens, and the token you put on the card tells you how many times that card goes off. So I might use it 3 times. But if I do that, I'm going to go after maybe Jamie's gone with his guy, so he might be not in a spot where I can tag him now. I was pretty impressed with it. It was a little bit like Robo Rally for 2 or 4 players. It was fun.
Right. Well, now I'm even more interested. That's my number 10, Flag Dash.
My number 10 is the same as Tony's number 10, Cry Havoc. And that's because so many people have been talking about this game. Everywhere I turn, people saying, Cry Havoc, Cry Havoc, Cry Havoc. And I've heard that it kind of gives you a vibe of Nexus Ops. And I absolutely love Nexus Ops and that style of sort of territory control game. Only, like Tony said, sci-fi. And it's caught my eye. I'm excited to get to Gen Con and try it out. So my number 10 is Cry Havoc.
My number 10 is an expansion, and that's for Smash Up. Now, I've always liked Smash Up anyway. But I'm really excited about this expansion, the Cease and Desist expansion. This has 4 factions, which I forget what their actual names are, but they're essentially Star Wars, Star Trek, Transformers, and Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can just take, and they make fun of all the different tropes of those things. So instead of lightsaber, it's like a light sword, or what have you. Or instead of a red shirt, there's just different cards for the different things. And I really love that idea. The cards also look like they're, a cool new faction. I know some people are getting tired of Smash Up, although they just released the app, by the way, for iOS. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that sounds like it would work really well in the app. But anyway, I'm excited about this expansion. Smash Up, Cease, and Desist.
I don't have enough room in my box for this. I have to get the big geeky box.
Have they ever done a Doctor Who parody in Smash Up?
They have a time travelers one, but it's not Doctor Who specific. It's just time traveling in general.
Oh, because it feels like that one would fit in that box really well. Game of Thrones seems to be the out of
It
place one.
does, but it's
But it sounds
probably
cool.
the one that's going to sell it more than any other at this point in time.
That's true.
Number 9.
So this next one, it's a game about a barroom brawl in a fantasy world, and that is the Dragon and Flagon. To me, like, the theme is just what sold me, and then I started looking at the pictures on Board Game Geek, and it's got some 3-dimensional aspects to the board game. So it's basically a bar room, and then you're setting up countertops and tables, and there's stuff on top of them that you can pick up and throw at each other, and the theme just looked like fun. And it plays up to 8 people, which sounds like a great time.
My number 9 is called Karatia, or Karatia. I'm not sure. It's carrot-based. It's about a bunny rabbit.
Terrible name.
It's
The way you said it the first time just sounds like a totally different
Is
game.
this like a clogged
does.
artery?
It's not great, but it's about it's a cooperative game for kids, and you are building mazes that a rabbit needs to run through and collect things. And the mazes get larger. Really, the draw here is cooperative for young players, and that immediately brings it up on my radar. So I will be tracking down and hopefully getting a demo play of Karatia? The carrot co-op game. Karatia.
Awful name. I hate the name. I'm not getting it based on that.
And
name.
I'll find out how to pronounce it there as well. It's my number 9.
My number 9 looks so stupid, but it just looks like such a fun game. Ice Cool. The box comes apart and becomes a whole bunch of rooms that are like a frozen over high school or something, where penguins go to this high school, and you're flicking these penguins through the doors, and they're collecting fish. But the penguins are like little weeble wobble penguins, so when you flick them, they wobble in weird directions. So you can get good at it and kind of flick them so that they spin around and go through a door and then go through another door.
This is your number 9.
I think it looks like Tony. You worry about your list. I'll worry about my list. I think Ice Cool looks like fun, and I want to play Ice Cool.
Sort of sound like
flicking penguins
fun,
around.
but
and
it's
be collecting
number
fish.
9.
Yes, Tony. Get out of my face, Tony. Number 9, Ice Cool. Tony, you're gonna be playing it, and you're gonna be liking it.
This was my number 11 based on Tom's excitement about it.
Yeah, I really like it. You can really spin these things in weird directions. You can even flick them so they jump over walls. And it's amazing how much of it fits. It's like nests. The box nests inside a box. I really like it. In my collection, very good game. But I'm also going to agree with Tony. My number 9 is also the Dragon and Flagon. I'm really excited about this. I played the game that it was based on. It was like an old game that came in an actual record case. And you had to write down all your moves like in a Robo-Rally way. And Jeff has streamlined this. I have not played it yet, but I'm really excited. The idea of fighting in a tavern brawl and running around and pulling rugs out and throwing things at each other and punching each other just sounds so fun. I'm very excited about the Dragon and Flagon.
But that's not one I'm going to try to recreate in real life either. You won't hear that.
That's good. That's good. In fact,
Maybe at the Secret Cabal meetup.
as I'm looking at your list, I don't think you should recreate any of these, actually.
Yeah. That's true. Maybe the Secret Cabal meetup if it gets a little too wild.
Number 8.
On to my number 8. Star Trek Ascendancy. This just, it's an IP that I think pretty much all nerds love. and it's like a big game. It's like it looks meaty. It's got battling in space with starships. $100 though, that does seem a bit high. The MSRP is $100. So there's got to be a lot in here because I think the base game is only 3 players.
I did hear that as well.
I believe you need an expansion to play more than 3 players. So that's a little salty, and that's what kept it lower on the list here. Is basically that it's $100 for the game, and if you want to play more players, you need expansions on top of that $100. But it does look like you're getting a good bit there in the box.
That is interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
No, that's
Tony always thinks about money when he goes into these games. Normally, I just
No,
kind of
that's a
throw
reasonable thing
caution
to
to the
think about
wind
money.
and buy
Come on.
whatever's out there.
It's
is.
$100.
No,
It's
I'm not saying
like
it's bad. I'm just saying
a little
he does.
more than your average board game too.
It's true.
So that's Star Trek Ascendancy.
Right.
My number 8 is Heart of Crown, which is a new deck builder from Japanime Games. And yes, there are tons of deck builders, but what's making this one stand out to me is, a visual element that keeps track of your available actions while you're playing during your turn, and also that you, at some point, spend some of your resources to commit to a princess, which creates a city in your tableau that then can store cards. And I'm not totally clear on how exactly it all works, but it seems like a fascinating concept to be able to store some cards for later and continue to fight for your princess to become the princess. You have like a candidate for princess. It seems interesting and well worth exploring. Heart of Crown, my number 8.
My number 8 is called Arcane Academy, and it's 2 designers that I like, Kevin Wilson and Eric Lang. In this one, basically, you're trying to cast spells by doing various things. You have to collect different kinds of resources to put into these spells and cast them and whatever. But the interesting thing about it is that you get these little action tiles and put it on this grid. And the way you position them on the grid, if you activate one of them and it's connected to another one, you get to activate that one too. It just seemed like a really interesting little puzzle game, has some neat artwork, and the concepts sounded like a lot of fun. So I'm definitely going to check out Arcane Academy.
I'm very, very impressed with this game. It's number 11 on my list. I really enjoy it.
Ooh.
It's a fun engine building style game. I was very wary of it at first because, well, IDW.
Right, yeah.
But man, it was just so fast. You put a card out. I mean, you use one of your engines and you run it, and then you run the ones that are connected to it, and you're putting out spells and casting spells, and it's interactive. It's fast. It's fun. It really sets out to what it's supposed to do. You know, I keep waiting for Eric Lang to put out a bad game, but this is not it for sure.
It's been a while.
My number 8, I'm excited about because I love the theming of this game, and this is one I highly recommend you don't play in real life, and that's Last Friday, or The Last Friday. And this is from Ares Games. This is essentially like Scotland Yard, except you are all running from a Jason-type character, or Freddy, or I think it's more like Jason.
Yeah. Around the lake.
And the board looks great. It's this big board of a camp, and you're like trying to hide in different spots while this guy's chasing you down. I'm hoping this game like makes you sweat. Like you're like, where is he? He's coming to get us. We gotta hide. If it does that well, that's a theme that almost no other game is doing.
Yes.
Right? That whole horror thing from the object of we're the scared teenagers running from the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really hoping it's good. That's Last Friday.
I should have put that one on my list.
Yeah, but you can do that in real life.
Fail. You could just swap out some of this junk you have down here lower on the list here.
There you go.
Get rid of that Seafall or whatever.
Nobody
Hey,
cares about that game.
Hey, is Jamie spoiling?
Spoilers.
We're building some anticipation, maybe.
Number 7.
Anyway, my which number are we on now? Number 7. Tyrants of the Underdark. So this one, I had mixed feelings about it when I was looking at it and deciding whether it belonged on my list or not. But I think what really got me is it's area control, but you also sort of have deck building too, and I thought that was sort of like an interesting mashup that I haven't really experienced before. And the area control was sort of interesting, and it's not like you're doing battles with each other, but you're sort of like you're basically trying to gain influence in a particular area in the Underdark. And it just seemed like a neat combination of mechanics, and I like the whole drow theme from Dungeons and Dragons. So all that together, got it on my list. Tyrants of the Underdark.
You know what I don't understand? There aren't a lot of people quacking about this other than me, but this Tyrants of Underdark is really expensive. It's $75. You get some cards and a board and some kind of okay components. They're not really that fantastic.
It seems a little salty.
Well, here's the deal. You say
It does.
You say 75, but you can buy it online for 40.
Really?
You can. 40 is very reasonable, or 45 or whatever. That's not bad. You get a lot of plastic, get a lot of cards. There's a lot of great art in that box. And again, we keep forgetting, but prices for games are just going up consistently. True. I think it's probably a little pricier than it would be. I don't think it's that overpriced, especially from Gale Force 9.
Put me in my place.
He's correcting your speculation.
There's no speculation. It's $75.
I'm telling you, I'm going to start showing up in the middle of your news segments.
I'm right.
Number 7 for me is Codenames Pictures. Now let me explain this because it's a difficult concept. It's Codenames, but with pictures. And I'm excited about that. I got to try this at Dice Tower Con, but they didn't have the rule book. They had the basic Codenames rule book. So I'm interested to hear what the limitations are for giving clues and how they differ for pictures as opposed to words. Because I know you can't just out and say pencil if pencil's one of the words you're trying to say. But if there's a picture of a pencil, can you say pencil or say writing? I don't know where that line falls yet. So I'm still a little hesitant, but I'm probably going to go buy it immediately. Codenames Pictures is my number 7.
My number 7 is a game called Zimby Mojo, and I'll be completely honest with you. I tried really, really hard to figure out what you're doing in this game, and I cannot understand what the guy is talking about in the video. But it looks really fun. I don't know what it is about this game, but he's talking about how you got to move your zombies around, and then you're trying to kill the guy in the middle and steal his crown and bring it back to your tribe of zombies. And then you get somehow zombies that can walk around and I don't know. For some reason, I can't explain it, but I was looking at it and I just kind of want to play it.
I was checking this out on Board Game Geek. The one thing that caught my eye immediately. First of all, it's for 1 to 8 players, which is a big range, but it's also the playing time is listed as 20 minutes to 2 hours.
Whew. Yeah, that's really weird. So
I hate when games say that because it usually means 2 hours, but it's 20 minutes if one person plays it by throwing the game at the wall.
I don't know. There's just something about it that drew me, like the way you move your guys around and you have to stack your guys on each other and then on the other player's guys and then they move with them. And I don't know. For some reason, this one's stuck in my mind and I really want to check it out at GenCon. We'll find out if it's good or not.
I like the theme of being an all-powerful shaman.
You also like the theme of cannibalism, and these creatures or these guys are cannibals. Yes, so you're cannibalizing, eating people. Yes,
you got to pick this one up.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Well, Tony has been wanting a game about cannibalism for a long time, and
they must have heard the call.
Yeah, exactly. It's
called Weasel Games.
It's called Zimby Mojo, and it is my number 7.
All right, my number 7 is Cash and Guns Team Spirit. This is another expansion. I love Cash and Guns. It's a great, fun game to play. This allows a 9th player to join and gives you team play. And you can have thugs for hire who give you extra advantages, more characters. I'm just excited that there's a 9th player and teams because I played the first Cash and Gun with teams, and it's a lot of fun.
Right, that's similar to the Yakuza's expansion, right?
Yeah, but this one doesn't seem like it adds in the whole Japanese thing. But you know what it does add? 3 more guns. So I'm in.
Okay.
You don't have enough foam guns lying around your house now, Tom?
Not yet. My son is still too young, but it's coming. To clarify for all those listening, foam. That's Cash and Guns Team Spirit.
Number 6.
So this next one on my list is from our friends at Stronghold Games. Terraforming Mars. I don't know what. There's so many little things about this game. It looks like it's got a lot of meat to it, and the theme just looks fun. You're basically taking Mars and you're trying to manipulate all these aspects of it. Like, so I think a couple of things that come to mind is like the temperature of Mars, the oxygen levels, ocean coverage. So you're trying to basically like shape Mars. And as Mars changes, it lets you, as the corporation that you're playing, you get to basically do different projects. So you're basically trying to change Mars and shape it, and then as it changes, it opens up new opportunities for you to do different things in the game.
I'm really hoping this one's good. This one is getting a lot of buzz. I really like the ideas of it. I'm just really hoping it's fantastic.
This was just barely missed my list. I'm really excited. It's been on my radar for a while, ever since Stronghold announced that they were going to be publishing it. So I hope it's good as well.
It's got the many sources of victory points. So typically when I see that in a game, I think of maybe like Agricola, right? So at the end of the game, there's a lot of different scorings that can give you points. And that's something that I tend to enjoy because it makes it a little bit more organic feeling, like you're winning by sort of accomplishing lots of different things. And the mechanics of this one just seem fun. You got card drafting, you got tile placement, you got variable powers for the players, checking all the checkboxes, terraforming Mars.
In my number 6 slot, I will be rushing to check out the new Ticket to Ride version, Rails and Sails. I'm excited to have boats involved in the game, but even more so, I want to see the Great Lakes map and see if there's a Kalamazoo space on there. Because if there is, it's an insta-buy. That's my number 6, Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails.
Really? You're not excited by the fact that it has boats? You're not excited about the fact that it might have new mechanisms? You care about a city being on there?
Yeah, well, the other stuff too, but if Kalamazoo's there, I mean, the other stuff's just a bonus.
See, you're so like even-keeled with games, and then you go off on these loony things. All right. This was actually on my short list too. I'm very excited about this because I think it's going to be a cool new expansion for the game. Don't care what the cities are called.
It'll be fun. I'm excited about that other stuff. All that stuff you mentioned, I'm excited about that too. My number 6, Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails.
My number 6 is on the list because I am a masochist, and I need to torture myself and hurt my brain in ways that I can never recover from. I've put Arkwright on the list. This is from what I understand, a very super heavy Euro about running factories.
It has the highest weight I've ever seen on Board Game Geek.
That is fantastic because you get a lot of junk in this box. You're creating factories. You're running these factories to produce all sorts of weird goods like silverware and clothing and whatever, and then you're trying to sell it to the people. You have to man these factories with people. You have to set their pay, and you have to pay them, and then you can fire them and replace them with machines. And you can go over and buy stocks in your own companies. And it looks crazy. It looks like a giant spreadsheet with some iconography on it. So I have no idea.
Like design. He didn't know how to cut. He didn't know how to cut stuff out of his game, so he just left everything in.
That could be the case, Tony. I have absolutely no idea. But this game's got a lot of buzz.
It's
and
like
it looks
simulation.
like a lot of fun. I think it looks like a fun game. And if you're going to continue to interrupt me, Tony, I'm going to interrupt you on your next one, all right?
You're welcome to interrupt me whenever you choose.
All right.
I actually thought about this game is probably not my style. I don't know. But did you see the insert that Meeple Realty did for it?
Yes. Yes, I did actually look at that.
It like sets up all the meeples for you, and I was like, I want to get the game just so I can have that.
Right,
insert.
exactly. But man, this game looks crazy. It looks like there's a crazy amount of brain-burning stuff going on in it, and I like that kind of game. I'll probably play it once and never play it again because I hurt myself, but anyway, my number 6 is Arkwright.
I'm really surprised that my number 6 is not on anyone else's list, and that's The Others, the 7 Deadly Sins, or whatever it's called. The Others, just for short.
It's a co-op.
Okay. No, it's not a co-op, Tony. It's one versus all. It's definitely not a co-op.
I missed that.
Yeah, it feels like a co-op because at every convention, Eric Lang is running the bad guy.
Right.
But someone is playing the bad guy, and they have to play as hard as they can. You are actively trying to destroy everybody. It's not a DM thing at all, where you're like, okay, just here for everyone to have a good time.
Well, now I'm sad I didn't back this.
It's always easy to get these things later
There's
on.
all sorts of
You just want the
exclusives.
600 extras.
I know.
Oh, it's Blood Rage all over
See,
again.
that's the
know.
thing. The reason it's not on my list is because I did back it so I could get all the extra junk. So I didn't put it on the list because I'm just going to have it anyway. I'm not excited to get it there.
I have to say, I played this against Eric, and his version is he crushed us. My version, which is the truth, is that it came down to a single die roll. But I was like a little worried about the theme because the theme's pretty dark.
Yeah, it is.
By pretty, I mean like darkety dark. But once the game started playing, I kind of forgot about the theme. I was like, I'm just killing nuns right and left, and well, they were evil nuns. They were
okay.
evil nuns. And they, I kind of got into it. It was really, with that big giant, I forget what it was, gluttony or pride. It was pride. Pride came
With
out.
big
Like,
tentacles come flying off of them. Oh, it looks awesome.
and you're going in, it doesn't feel like, it feels like a dungeon crawl almost, but it's just, you're working together as a team, trying to outthink the guy running the bad guys. And it seems like he's invincible, but he at the same time is trying not to use all his stuff up too quickly because then you will beat him down.
Right.
And it has a pretty decent storyline, and there's like multiple stories. I'm very excited about this one, and I did not think I would be. I still think there'll probably be parts of the game that I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna not play with that part. But that's The Others from Cool Mini or Not.
Number 5.
Let's burn some witches. We don't want to do that in real life either. So you can play it in this game. Salem. I like the theme, right? I like this whole Salem witch trial theme. And the thing that's cool about this is there's a lot of history sprinkled in. So apparently, like, the characters and some of the events are all based on the real people that were involved in the Salem witch trial. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So as you're playing this game, you're getting a little history lesson. Another thing I thought that was cool about this that caught my eye was it plays up to 7. So this sort of seems like the type of game that if you're at like you have a larger gaming group going that particular night, that this would be something perfect there. Or even it doesn't have to be a gaming group. This seems like something you could just maybe play with your regular old friends at a party.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, first of all, you're absolutely 100% about the history. I spent like half the game while I was waiting for other people to take their turns reading that book and feeling really bad about this whole thing. Those Salem witch trials was a terrible time of history. The game itself is a deduction game, and it's a pretty good one. I mean, it's a hefty deduction game. So far, my only complaint about it is that the game is designed for 7 players. And if you play with less than 7 players, you can get around it, and there's ways to do it. It just felt a little wonky to me. I was like, oh man, I wish we had 7. It would just work a little bit better with 7. But it's one of the best deduction games I've played in a long time.
That's Salem from Passport Games.
My number 5 is going back to Tom and Tony's number 9, and that is The Dragon and Flagon. Team Engelstein has been working on this one for a while. I remembered, various events at Jeff's house, and he's been trying to make this work for some time, and I think that revision is going to show in the gameplay. It's going to be chaotic fun, jumping off of tables, hanging from chandeliers. A good time will be had by all, and I can't wait to see it. Dragon and Flagon, my number 5.
My number 5 is the same as Tom's number 8, The Last Friday. All of us, we all love horror movies, slasher movies.
No,
Jason.
I hate horror movies.
No, I'm
no,
talking about us here at home. I'm talking about you all out there. We love Steve, Chris. We're huge horror fans. We love the slasher genre, and this is perfect. And what I like about it is it's like a lot of these hidden movement games, like Letters from Whitechapel, except each phase of the game, the roles change of what you're doing. Like the first one, the slasher's coming after you. In the second phase, you're going after the slasher, and vice versa. And at the end, like somebody is nominated as the guy who's going to kill the slasher, you know? So it follows the tropes of those slasher films from the 80s. I'm so excited to play this game. We've already slated this game as our Halloween feature review this year because we're just so excited about it. So the last Friday is one that is going to be going home with me for sure.
You might have to run for that one. That one might sell out. I don't know.
We'll see.
All right, my number 5 is another Cool Mini or Not game, and that's Xenoshift Dreadmire. I love Xenoshift, and so more of it is exciting to me. I'm not fighting bugs now. I'm fighting big lizard things. I don't care what they are. I'm going to kill them all. That's a lie. They're going to kill me, but I'm going to pretend that I'm going to kill them. Actually, they're not killing me. They're killing the guys I hire. I'm sitting in my little comfy couch sending these guys out and writing letters to their widows. But I just love this deck building game. It's still my collection. I'm always excited to play it. So this is a standalone expansion, Xenoshift Dreadmire.
Number 4.
My number 4 is In the Name of Odin. This is from NSKN Legendary Games. This game is kind of cool in the sense, or at least was cool to me in the sense that it's basically sort of like a Euro game about Vikings where you're building up the town, you're building up your raiding crew, and then you go off and raid. It seemed like it was light, but it sort of had enough meat to make it fun for a short, hour or less time frame. And that is my number 4, In the Name of Odin.
Great choice, Tony. No one was giving you any kind of support there, and I apologize. We got your back.
Nobody seemed interested in this, but I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know what it was. It's just a Viking theme. That's it. I love Vikings. And, yeah. In the Name of Odin.
My number 4 is Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. Not really because of Cthulhu, but because it's pandemic with some new mechanisms. The progression as things get bad, sort of the track of what would be called epidemics, or outbreaks in the basic pandemic is now handled by a track of elder gods that things get worse and worse and worse. And if you get to the 8th one, Cthulhu shows up and everyone loses. This one might be a little more difficult to get on the table with my wife, but I'm still interested to see how things have changed in the world of pandemic when you add madness into the mix. Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu is my number 4.
Just play it with your kids.
Sure.
Scar them for life.
No problem.
After that, they can graduate to the others. There's a lot of horror on these lists.
It's the year of horror.
That's true. Well, my number 4 is legendary Big Trouble in Little China. And for no other reason than I absolutely adore the movie Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah. I love anything Kurt Russell. But when he's Jack Burton, it's extra special cool. And I already love the Legendary Encounters games. I liked Alien. I liked Predator. And who would have thought that this would have been the next one in the series?
Yeah, I know.
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like next Legendary Encounters, The Lost Boys or something is coming next. But no, I can't wait for this. I think the way that the Legendary Encounters games weave the stories of the movies or whatever they're trying to do, in this case it's always been movies, but it does a really good job of kind of making you feel like you're going through that plot, but it's still a neat deck building game despite that. And I just like the fact that they have all these characters that I love from the movies that I get to play in these games. So Big Trouble in Little China, I'm glad that this is one that's coming out, and I'm excited to get it. So that's my number 4, Legendary Encounters, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, I'm excited about that kind of. I love the movie. I don't know how much they can milk this Legendary system.
Yeah, right. I think
I was done after the first version.
Yeah, I'm not getting the Firefly, and the first version you're talking about, Tony, was Legendary Marvel, which is different. It kind of is different than Legendary Encounters. They work a little bit.
Yeah, Encounters has a different feel for sure.
But Big Trouble in Little China is not Encounters. It's Legendary.
Oh, is it?
Firefly is Encounters.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
Then I don't know.
That's interesting.
I might have to dump it off the list if that's the case.
I'm more interested in it now.
Actually, it's a great point, Eric. I didn't even really take notice that was the case. So I'm curious what makes it different in a sense, I guess. Maybe it isn't that whole story aspect. Well, I'll find out when I get there.
Good catch, Eric. All right. My number 4 is my third and final Cool Mini or Not game. They're like my go-to company these days, and that's Bloodborne, the card game. Wow, is this game fun. I played this game at the Cool Mini or Not Expo, and then immediately played it again, and then played it again, and then just recently played it again a couple weeks ago. Really enjoying this. I still haven't played like the final copy yet, though. I'm still waiting for an actual published copy, but this is like the video game means nothing to me. I don't care about that nonsense. Those beasts, nastiness, whatever. But I get to kill them in this game and then accidentally slap the people next to me while I'm doing so. It's like Cutthroat Caverns, and I love Cutthroat Caverns. But this game does Cutthroat Caverns in 30 minutes. That's pretty good for me. So that's Bloodborne, the card game.
Number 3.
My number 3 is from Red Raven Games, and that's Islebound. There's just something about Ryan Lockett and how he creates a game that intrigues me and that draws me in. Maybe it's the fact that he's the artist and the designer. I don't know if there's something about having the same person do both that creates something special. But every time I see one of these games, I want it. And I want to play it.
I'm right there with you, Tony. And I think it absolutely is that he is the artist and the designer and the publisher, the whole package from beginning to end. As a matter of fact, I just got my copy of Islebound, and I just backed Near and Far just today. Because I'm in love with this guy's games. So it's not on my list for GenCon because I already have it. That's why. Or it would be up close to the top.
It made my short list for sure, and he has that auteur sort of feel. You know, he has his fingers in everything in the production of this game, and that there's a draw to that. I can't wait to see what he comes up with next.
Yeah, this is one of those ones I was sad that I couldn't put on my list. There's just not enough room for it. But you know it's going to be good.
That's Islebound from Red Raven Games.
So moving on to my number 3, the reason I was making the distinction between Legendary and Legendary Encounters is because my number 3 is the Firefly version of Legendary Encounters. I guess my understanding is that the Encounters system is fully cooperative, whereas Legendary has always been semi-co-op. You are earning points as you go, and somebody wins. And it could be that Big Trouble in Little China has a little bit more of that working together, but also amassing your own points aspect. Firefly, however, is a property I adore, and is one that I would really like to see that Encounters system work with the characters and the various bad guys that populate the verse. It'll be cool, and I'm interested to see where they go with this one. My number 3, Legendary Encounters Firefly.
I gotta say, Eric, this one's not doing anything for me. I like Firefly, but it doesn't seem like it fits the Legendary game. I can't imagine how that's gonna work. Are there monsters you're fighting?
Reavers? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but that doesn't... The Reavers, you run from them. You run. The only person who fights them is River.
Maybe the scenario is that they're boarding the ship, and you got to do stuff about it.
You run.
I don't know.
Did you not watch this series?
Maybe there are running mechanisms. Maybe the hallway from the Alien game is now approaching the ship as danger gets close to you.
I'm going to bet that they're going to have things like rob a train or bust into a bank and steal the money or fight off some of the Alliance ships or something like that, or infiltrate an Alliance base or something like that. So it'll be sort of all that.
I hope they do.
All that cowboy, Old West style stuff, only in space.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see.
So you're going to be fighting humans, not monsters, I would imagine.
Sure.
Anyway, my number 3 is Legends of Andor: Journey to the North. And this is because
North remembers.
I absolutely love Legends of Andor. I still play this game by myself. I've probably played every one of the missions in that box, 6, 8 times, 10 times. I still haven't beaten that one in the middle where it's random. I don't know how you're supposed to beat that one, but whatever. I just need more. I need more stories. I want more boards. I just love the way that this game is put together, and I'm excited to get this one, particularly because I love anything with ships and sailing. And this board is all about sailing around to different islands and stuff like that. So I'm excited for Legends of Andor, Journey to the North.
Well, I'm just glad to see I'm not the only person putting on expansions.
Yep.
All right, my number 3 was Tony's and Jamie's number 10, and that's Cry Havoc, which made this list before I actually got the game. I have the game now in my collection, but I'm still looking forward to playing it again. This is currently my favorite game of the year.
Really?
And not like, well, it's close runner-up. No, like I like Star Wars Rebellion. I'll play Cry Havoc 50 times over it. I love Cry Havoc. It is, if you like Kemet, you'll like Cry Havoc. If you like Nexus Ops, but you want more, you'll like Cry Havoc. The combat system is, I can't think of anything bad about this game. The combat system's great. The miniatures are great. The 4 different factions are totally asymmetrical. It's totally interactive in your face. Tony, you will like this game. I guarantee it. I love it. I love every part of it. I'm so excited. And it wasn't even on my radar. When I saw it set up on the table, I stopped. I was like, what are these miniatures? Ah, great. Amazing. Sorry. It's my number
quite
3.
an endorsement.
He likes it.
Now I'm going to swap that with legendary Big Trouble in Little China on my list. It just went up to number 4.
You can't change your list. That's against the rules.
Number 2.
So this next one, my number 2, I think it is the first Legacy game that's actually got my interest.
I call nonsense. You're never going to play this game. You're not going to get it, and you're never going to play it.
Out of the 3 legendary games. Huh?
Well, if you look at what's being demoed at GenCon, that list is growing. And I'm not interested in any of them either. Well, maybe. There's one that's demoing that I might be interested in. That's that Chronicles one. That looks kind of cool. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the one that's going to be out at GenCon, and that is the Legacy game everyone's talking about, Seafall. I don't know what Jamie's talking about, but I'd love to hear why he thinks that I would never play this game.
I'd love to hear why it's not on his list.
Well, to answer both your questions, number 1, Tony, I know you very well, and you would never play this game if you bought it. I have this weird feeling that you would never play it. The other one, Tom, the reason it's not on my list is because I would never play it. I really, really, really want to play Seafall, but there is no chance I would ever play it to completion. So I've wiped it from my brain. Like, I would get it, I would sit there and stare at it for months, and no one would play it with me to completion. So I can't do it. That's the only reason. But I think it looks amazing. But it's just not for me. It's not for our group's play style.
We'll send you pictures.
Yeah, you can do that.
What makes you say that? Because this is it's an hour and a half, 2 hours.
They only play a game once, Tony.
That's not true. But we don't play a game like 15 times in one long stretch of weeks. We play lots of different games. I don't have the time to sit down and complete an entire campaign at one time, Got to be playing other stuff
what
too.
Makes you
Well, you can play other games in between.
You play RPGs. What's the difference?
No, that's a different group of people.
Then play it with them.
So what's the
not
word
playing
on the
D&D?
street? What's the word on the street about how many times this will take?
It's 15, I think, is what I'm hearing.
That's not too bad. Jamie, you're probably right. We'll probably never finish it, but
Exactly.
it looks so cool.
It does look cool, but I'll never finish it.
It's got everything you want. I guess because you have to play it 15 times, it's going to have everything you want. I don't know. It's still my number 2. I don't care about your answer. That's Seafall.
My number 2 is coming from USAopoly. It is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. Harry Potter, Potterverse, cooperative deck builder. I'm in. I will be seeking this one out. It's another one that I can possibly play with my son, who is a Potter fan, and my wife as well. So it's one that should hit the table if I can grab a copy. Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, my number 2.
I hope it's good.
I hope it's
good, but I wonder.
Why is the thing that bothered me about this game is, isn't the 4th player have to be Neville? Who wants to be Neville? Like,
You know what, Tony? I was going to get all over your case. I remember now. You said this on the show before.
Yeah.
Have you read the books?
No, I haven't read the books. I just watched the movie, so that's probably why.
But even in the movie, Neville saved the day in the 7th movie.
Spoilers!
He did.
Oh, shut up,
He
Eric.
did save the day, but it's like the 3 main characters are definitely set apart from Neville in a.
You know what? No, if I got to pick, I'd pick Neville. You know why?
Ridiculous.
Because Neville does what's right. Those other 3 troublemakers. Never listen to anybody. They're just lucky. Garbage. You back off Neville and Fatty too from Lord of the Rings.
Neville forever.
Well, my number 2 is Terraforming Mars. And actually, all of my reasoning for wanting to play this game are exactly the same as Tony's. I just think, number 1, the theme of Mars is hot right now. I mean, all of a sudden there are 3 or 4 Mars-oriented games coming out based, obviously, because the first Martian movie was out. But of all of them, I think this one is the one that looks the coolest to me. It's got the coolest graphic design. It's got the coolest artwork. The concepts of it just sound very cool to me. What Tony was talking about, kind of terraforming all the locations, your factories, and producing resources and getting your people on Mars. I just think it seems like a really fun game, a really cool Euro, has some complexity there that I can get behind. So Terraforming Mars is my number 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have put this on my list. I'm very excited about it. But there's no room because number 2 for me is Star Trek Ascendancy. Tony already talked about it. I'm still kind of surprised, because I've been wanting for a long time, a big Twilight Imperium with a Star Wars theme. I'll take sloppy seconds with Star Trek.
Oh, give me a break. That's outrageous what I just heard. Star Trek is the one you want for this, not Star Wars. This is exploration. This is warring other factions. How could you say that?
Because Star Trek's really not about war that much.
Exactly.
As opposed to,
It depends on what
thing.
faction you're playing. If you're the Klingons, it's all about war. If you're the Ferengis, it's all about commerce. If you're playing the Federation, it's all about exploration. So you got something for everybody.
Well, either way, I still am really excited about this. It looks like a box of goodies.
It does.
And it's interesting because they're releasing it simultaneously at GenCon and at like some Star Trek show.
Yeah.
For the 50th anniversary. What I'm fascinated about is they knew they had this license, Gale Force 9, like 2 years ago. And so they worked on this game to time it here. So this isn't some slapped together, thrown together game just with a license on it to hit the 50th anniversary. They've been planning this for a while. So that gives me hope that it's a really good game. Not to mention Gale Force 9's track record with IPs is like second to Fantasy Flight.
That's true.
They keep taking a game. I'm like, who wants to play a game with that IP? Then I play it. I'm like, not bad. So that's pretty neat to me. So Star Trek Ascendancy, my number 2.
And finally, number 1.
So this is it, the number 1s.
That's right, Tony.
I don't know what people are going to think about this one, but so this game, I have my copy already. So I'm not doing the James Keagy method here. And
Listen, Tom can get my last name wrong, but you're not allowed, Tony.
I don't know why I would do that. Anyway.
Me neither. So we've only known each other for 20 years,
I'm going to do it forever now.
But there's so many people that say your name the wrong way. I think it just drilled into my brain.
That's true. It's Keagy, by the way. Proceed, Tony.
This one I already have, but you know what? I'm going to make a bold statement here. Maybe I think this was the most anticipated game of the year, and I think that there's.
Well, that's not a bold statement. I feel pretty confident.
Yes,
that was
it's
true.
definitely
Oh,
true.
all right. Well, maybe it's not as bold as I thought. I think that lots of people are looking forward to this, and I'm not just. So I have my copy already, so it's not really getting the copy, but I'm looking forward to just hearing from other people. Has this lived up to the hype for everyone? And that is Scythe. I mean, it's farming and fighting together. I want this. I need to play this soon.
Yes, you do need to play it soon, Tony, because it's amazingly awesome. I played it, and I wasn't even as excited as some of the other people around were. And when I played it, I was like, wow, I get it. I get what everybody's going wild about. I think it's going to be great. I think people are. It's going to stand the test of time. I think because I think it's a really well done game with some interesting stuff in it.
Huh. I still don't get the draw on this one.
Really?
Yeah, well, I haven't played it, so but I don't. It seems like too complex a game for me. I just see this giant board with all these minis and stuff, and I have no idea what's going on, and I don't know. I'm just not. I'm outside the sphere on this one.
Yeah, you are. It's really good. I really enjoy it. I just did my review of it before we recorded this. There's so much in the game. It's more of a Euro game, Eric, than a fighting game. I think you would like it a lot, honestly.
All right.
And the artwork, best of the year.
Oh, for sure.
The artwork was what initially attracted me to it, but the game is very good. A lot of good theming, some great mechanisms. Does it live up to the hype? I don't know if it can because the hype was that high. It would have to cure my grandmother, from being dead for it to live up to that hype.
Oh, one thing I think that you,
but it's pretty good. I give it an 8.
I want to mention something
That's what ails her, Tom.
I want to mention something that's kind of important here, and that's the whole. It's like a Euro, and the combat's not that important, or it's not combat heavy. The one thing that I've heard that really started getting me even more excited was that the presence of your mechs and your military is basically it's more of an intimidation thing and an intimidation factor. And I like that. I like when you basically can use the threat of combat as a strategy as much as just at the actual combat. Oh, that just gets me going. And hopefully I'm going to get to play this before GenCon, and I might be looking for some of the more enhanced editions if it lives up to the hype for me. I don't even know if they'll be at GenCon, but
Tony, the thing that sold me on this game was that we were about 3 turns into it, and my neighbor to the right had all these resources sitting in a spot, and I had built a mech. I just walked into that spot and stole all of his resources and left with them, and he could do nothing about it because he hadn't built a mech yet. And that made me so happy and proud of myself that I was like, I don't need to produce those resources. I'll just go take them from that fool over there. It was awesome. I loved it.
Well, good choice anyway, Tony.
Yep.
that's Scythe, my number 1 for GenCon.
My number 1 is what I think is going to be the talk of the show, at least until they sell out, and that's Seafall. An exploration game with the legacy concept. It sounds like a blast. I want to go on adventures and change the world and build it to my liking. It's going to be a blast. Seafall, my number 1.
My number 1 is Tom's number 2 and Tony's number 8, Star Trek Ascendancy. This is the game I've been waiting for my entire life because I'm a huge Star Trek fan through and through. And listen, you could keep that Star Trek Mage Knight garbage. This is the game that I'm going to be getting because this has got spaceships flying all over the galaxy. You got fighting, you got commerce, you got exploration, you got everything you could possibly want. I'm dying to get a hold of this game, and this is going to be the very first game that makes it into my bag. And the thing that makes me even more excited about it is that...
Are you going to buy the expansion?
Yes. If you had just waited, that's the thing I was going to say next, Tony. The thing that makes me even more excited is the fact that they've built this model so that every expansion is a new race, right? Like I get the Cardassians, I'll get the Klingons, I'll get the Andorians, I'll get the Tholians, I'll get the Gorn. Like as long as they put all those out.
You're getting the Ferengi though, right?
Yeah, well that annoys me a little bit.
Aren't they going to be out? Aren't they going to be out right away?
I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe they will. Tom, did you hear about anything about that?
The what?
He stopped listening to us a while back there, Tony.
He did.
No.
I heard the
It's not just
Ferengi were
you.
the first. I heard the Ferengi were the first expansion faction.
Yes, that's what.
And we
I
also heard that it was coming out in tandem with the base game. Is that true?
That I'm not sure on. I would imagine maybe.
If they do, I will buy.
I did hear they're coming out in tandem, but that might be. I wasn't sure if that was that they were coming out in tandem for retail or they were coming out in tandem at GenCon.
That's true. Well,
There
if
might
they
be that's the
basically
subtle distinction I'm not sure about.
basically if they are, Tony, yes, I will be buying the expansion with it because if it's 3 players, I need 4 players. But I'd much rather have something more than the Ferengi because that sounds boring. I want the Andorians; they're my favorite. Anyway, Star Trek Ascendancy is my number 1. I will be there. I'll get it, and anything they got that's peripherally associated with it.
This probably should have been on my list. I got the impression that this game was much more about the spaceship combat, and I wanted something more exploratory, but maybe I'm just mistaken and I didn't do my research on this one.
I think it's more about the combat. I think Jamie's reading a little bit into that exploration.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. I am surprised. Well, it's too long for you too, Eric, probably. Anyway,
Could be.
My number one, shocking no one, is Seafall, I'm sure. When I was making my list, I wrote Seafall and then thought about the rest of the list.
Right.
It was very easy. The Legacy thing totally has me. A Legacy, I'm glad we've been able to work together in pandemic, and I'm glad it's fun to work together in Time Stories. Now I want to punch people. All right, I'm going to kill Sam. I'm going to kill Z in Seafall. I'm looking forward to it. I've actually kept myself spoiler free. I know almost nothing about it. I'm super excited about that. I haven't read even like any of the previews that they've written about it. So, easy choice. So, my number one, Seafall. Let's see what the people choice said. Interestingly enough, Star Trek Ascendancy didn't even show up in the top 25. I wonder why that is.
Well, maybe I'll be able to get a copy then without running and being stampeding other people. So,
Well,
Yeah,
not
but now
okay
we
for
just
me.
sent it to everyone.
Yeah, but Star Trek Panic is on the list at 21.
That's weird.
Well, whatever. All right, number 10 is Junk Art. That's cool, but I thought Junk Art was out at Origins. But hey, I guess some people weren't able to get it there. Number 9, Chronicles Origins, which I don't believe is out yet.
No, I
You can
think that's
demo it, I
demo.
believe, or you can demo it at GenCon.
Number 8, The Other Seven Sins. Number 7, Islebound. That's points for Tony. 6, Captain Sonar, which is super fun, and everyone's going to play at GenCon and then probably not play at home because you need 8 people for it
Yep.
to go well. But still, it's a lot of fun. 5, Pandemic Cthulhu. So if you want that one, you might want to run for it. 4, Terraforming Mars. It's interesting that one got number 4, while the one I'm more excited about, the Dragon and Flagon, is 23 on the list. And I think we'll be talking about Dragon and Flagon more down the road. We'll see. Number 3, Codenames Pictures. Number 2, they got your back, Tony, with Scythe. And number 1, Seafall. Yeah. Good luck getting a copy of Seafall, everybody.
Well,
If it's
I mean,
that
at least at
limited,
Gen Con.
Yeah. I mean, there's the real danger that VIGs are going to wipe them out, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm still... The VIG thing fascinates me. If you don't know what we're talking about, you can pay $500 or $600. It's like $600 now?
I don't even think you can get them anymore because I believe you get priority as a VIG, previous
You're
VIG,
grandfathered in.
to get access to to buy the new VIGs, and I believe they weren't. Was it this year or last year? They weren't even available because the previous VIGs just bought them all.
It's possible. You get first shot at hotel rooms, and a lot of people think that's worth it alone. I wouldn't be surprised if they raised the price for those at some point. But every person that Eric and I have talked to who is a VIG has told us it's amazing and worth the money, hands down.
Yep. They get some free games. They get a swag bag. They get access to a lounge for the entire convention. And then they get first shot at the games in the exhibit hall. You get an hour of shopping time. And if you're efficient, you can get those 3 or 4 games that you're really gunning for before the rest of the hall opens up.
With all of that stuff, that sounds worth it to me. I mean, getting the hotel rooms first and then getting in the hall first, those things are big deals. You get whatever you want. You can get right next to the convention center. I'm not doing it, but I would if I had the money to throw around and wasn't a media guy.
All right, well, let's find out. Either way, we look forward to seeing you all there. As I say every time, if you see us, stop us and say hi, unless A, it's in the middle of the street, B, we're holding big giant stacks of games, or C, we look like we're asleep. Other than that, stop us and say hi. That's why we go to conventions. We could probably talk about these games at home. We cannot meet you all there, though. So come by the booth, say hi, and we're really glad the Secret Cabal came on the show today, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much,
having
Tom
us.
and Eric. We really appreciate you doing this, and we appreciate you doing our show in the part 1. We always have a great time doing this.
This is always fun.
3rd year running, or is it the 4th year? I'm actually
I don't
I don't
remember.
know.
40th year we've done this.
It's been a while.
All righty, well, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell,
I'm Jamie Keagy.
And I'm Tony Topper.
And I'm Eric Summerer.
and you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 467, was recorded on July 18th, 2016. Coming up next week, it's another round of our Question Palooza as we try to reach the end of the mailbag. Support for this podcast comes from listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. Find out how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom and me, with production assistance from Jason Thompson, Itai Perez, Eric Matthews, and Rob Searing. Our theme was composed by Timothy Pinkham. Expeditions to find dried plums provided by Prunebound. And hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at CoolStuffInc.com. We love feedback. Visit the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Email us at thedicetower@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook. And of course, you can find more from the Dice Tower Network, including Board Gamers Anonymous, Board Game Corner, The Snakes Cast, Rolling Dice and Taking Names, The Geek All-Stars, Dukes of Dice, and Board Game Breakfast at DicetowerNetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. Now, if we were smart, guys, we should have picked the game that we wanted the most and said it was we were hearing it was terrible, so that no one would get in line. So, like, oh yeah, I'm hearing terrible rumors about that Seafall. Nobody should get in line for that.
That's kind of what I did, Eric.
Just
because it didn't show up on the people's list, if you
Yeah,
noticed.
Jamie's actually...
oh, there you go. Well done, sir. You're ahead of me.